You're still muted.
That's okay. Good afternoon. Well, I guess it's almost afternoon for all of you. So thank you for hanging in there for this last session of the whole entire conference. I'm super excited to be here and was delighted when Darren reached out to me and asked if I might be willing to speak about this topic, because he understood that this is sort of the realm that I work in. And so I'm going to begin by having us take a poll, just to kind of gauge how much folks maybe are familiar with the trauma-informed movement, or another common term that you may hear used is ACEs. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll right now, and hopefully it will, or it's launched already, and just see what people are aware of here. Plus, I love polling. I think polling is so fun. Oh, this is good. This is good to see that some folks actually have heard of this term before. There's also a lot of newbies to it. Just give folks about another, 5 seconds to see if they want to respond. Okay. So I'm going to share the results out with you. And as you can see, of those who had a chance to poll in, about 73% of folks have never heard of that term before, which is really exciting for me because that gives me an opportunity to share with you a growing movement that's happening and has never had more relevance than right now amidst a pandemic. So I want you to just take a moment to think about sort of how you've been doing through this pandemic. You can even use the chat function or the Q&A if you would like to chat in a response. But for many, many people, we are describing an experience of a lot of ups and downs. One day you might get up and feel like, hey, sun's shining, pretty good day, I can do this. And by lunchtime, you find yourself completely wrecked and you're really struggling to focus. You're struggling to kind of get yourself in a place where you can be productive. And I know that a lot of employers are really experiencing that, or noting that for their employees, that it's not the same work experience that you had pre-pandemic. So I hope that you all will indulge me, because I want to take you on a little bit of a journey to help you understand what the science of traumatology is telling us and helping to explain for us about why it is that we may be having the experiences that we're having right now during this pandemic, and what we're going to need to do moving forward so that we can better support our workforce. So in 1998, just bear with me because I'm going to tell you a little story here. In 1998, the CDC published a huge study known as the ACEs study, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And that study was the culmination of work that was accomplished by Dr. Vincent Felitti and Dr. Rob Onda. And these two doctors came together. One was an epidemiologist and one was a family physician. They came together to try to understand what they had been noticing in their practices, which is that there seemed to be a relationship between lived experience and health. And so, in fact, Dr. Felitti at the time was running an obesity clinic in San Diego, California. And he was helping people who were really morbidly obese come in and lose a lot of weight in a relatively short period of time. And he felt really good about their program because a lot of their patients initially experienced a ton of success. But one of the things that happened shortly thereafter was that many of the patients would regain all of the weight they had lost, and sometimes even more so than they had lost. And they couldn't understand what was going on. So they began asking patients, well, actually, Dr. Folletti was speaking with a patient one day, and he was asking her some routine questions, and he said to her, "How old were you when you had your first sexual experience?" And he had meant to ask her how much she weighed. And, excuse me, it's the other way around. He asked her how much she weighed when she had her first sexual experience, and he meant to ask her how old she was. And she said she weighed 40 pounds. And he was totally struck by that because he had never had a patient, describe that to him before. He had never had a patient confide in him about childhood sex abuse before. And he began to ask other practitioners in the study if they too were noticing a similarity, that patients were reporting a relationship to or having had a common experience of childhood sex abuse. And as it turned out, 55% of the people involved in his study and in his program, in fact, did have a history of childhood sex abuse. And so he shared that finding with the medical community, and he was completely poo-pooed. People didn't believe that that was true, and they thought that, people make up fake memories about their lived experiences to have excuses for the struggles they experience in adulthood, whether that be with addiction or obesity or other things. So long story short, they developed this ACEs study, and they found overwhelming results that had never been discovered before. And part of what they realized was that the vast majority of people living in the US had had at least one form of adversity in their childhood. And what I mean by that is they had studied 10 broad categories, but they were things like childhood sex abuse and childhood physical abuse and verbal abuse, and living in a household where there was domestic violence, or living with a parent that had mental illness or drug addiction, or having a parent that was incarcerated and wasn't able to be home, having lived through a divorce. These were sort of the 10 categories that they asked people about. And they found, like I said, that 2/3 of the population had experienced at least one of those things in their childhood. And the reason why this is so staggering is because what they discovered was that if you had, say, 6 of those kinds of experiences in your childhood, you were 4,000 times more likely to become an IV drug user. You were over 3,000 times more likely to attempt or complete suicide. Like, if you had 6 or more ACEs, you were facing a 20-year shortening of your life expectancy. And so there was a huge relationship that was established between our lived experiences and our physical health and mental health. So part of the reason why this was never really, there was not much made of these findings back then, is because we didn't necessarily have the body of neuroscience that we have today and the body of research that helps us to understand why is this. I mean, as somebody who worked as a counselor for many, many years, it's not astonishing to me in any way, shape, or form that our lived experiences have an impact on who we become and how we behave and what our health is like. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bruce Perry. He's the foremost authority in childhood trauma and understanding the impact of trauma on child development. And some of his research helps us to understand, and this is really, I know we're like going to nerd out here for a second, but just go with me on this, because I'm getting to the point of explaining how this is related to right now, and also how this is related to us as employees and to those that we maybe lead as employees. So one of the things that Dr. Perry helps us to understand is that our brains develop bottom up. So they actually grow bottom up. And we've also evolved that way. And so here's his heuristic that he uses to teach people about the brain and what happens in different parts of the brain. And I want you to draw attention to the 2 lower regions that you see in this diagram. So the area that is pink, and then the other area that is yellow. The pink area is representing the brain stem, or the most primitive part of the brain. It's the unconscious part of the brain, okay? And it's the part of the brain that is responsible for sustaining life. So it regulates our heart rate, our digestion, our blood pressure, all of the functions that are necessary to sustain life. It's also where our our body and our brain are very interconnected, and where things that are occurring in the environment and in our bodies are sending signals through our sensory pathways into this part of the brain, and the brain is interpreting its experience from these sensory pathways. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that we all have very individualized sensory pathways based on our lived experiences. So let's imagine that you're at a party and someone comes and stands and starts talking to you closely, and all of a sudden you are catapulted back to a memory, maybe with your father. And you find yourself kind of transported in that moment, and you're like, what's going on? Or maybe it's not even a conscious memory. Maybe it's just a reaction in your body where all of a sudden you feel agitated with this person or afraid of this person. But your body remembers that there was an association between a certain smell of breath, and something that was negative or something that threatened safety or survival. This is how our brain and body works to keep us safe and to help us to survive. And so what I mean in this description is that, like, if you perhaps have lived with an alcoholic father or a parent, and there was a smell that was associated there about alcohol and breath and fear or risk or danger, your body has that encoded in its memory. And so we can have reactions to our environments that we're not always that consciously aware of, that are about risks to our safety and our survival. So you failing me now? Like, you getting what I'm trying to get at? And especially when we start thinking about this pandemic and things that are threatening survival and threatening safety. So just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to kind of go a little bit further. So that brain stem is where our somatosensory functioning resides. So what I mean by that is, it's where the brain is processing sensory information and then sort of producing a reaction or response to it. The good news in that is that we understand a lot more now about what helps us to organize experience and information from the somatosensory domain. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but just hang in there with me and understand that I'm getting ready to make an argument for, we have up to this point thought that the vast majority of human behavior is a reflection of thinking and our thought process. And what all this neuroscience and vast body of traumatology is helping us to understand is that there's a lot more happening that's actually very implicit and reactive and does not reach our conscious parts of our brain. That cortex that you see up there in the diagram, the highest level of the brain, that's the most evolved portion of the brain, or the most recently evolved portion of the brain. And there's pieces of it that are unique to humans. But that, as much as we think that we are in conscious control of ourselves all the time, we are learning more and more that's just not the case. So think of it from an evolutionary perspective, right? We often forget that we are living in a time that is more dissimilar than the many, many generations that came before us. So what do I mean by that? Well, we have vehicles, we have fancy technology, we're doing all this online. Like, humans have not lived like this for even an entire generation. Well, I guess the millennials have lived like this for an entire generation, but it's so rapidly evolving that we don't think about the fact that for thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, the human experience was fairly similar from generation to generation. And what that meant was we lived like what you see in this illustration of early people. You know, we kind of lived in nomadic tribes. We were more tribal. We traveled in packs, and really who we knew and what we had was those that we lived with. So a lot about our environment, as much as we think there's so much threat in our modern environment, think about these early people. Because when they would encounter another tribe that maybe was unfamiliar, they didn't know whether or not that was going to be a rivalry or a fight, or if that was going to be a friendly, cooperative experience. They didn't know if a pack of wolves came upon them, if they were going to be able to fend them off. So what I want you to notice in this illustration is that there's three very clearly illustrated stances of defense. okay? And these are so hardwired into us. We're going to talk in a moment about how we're seeing reflections of it right now in the pandemic. But one of the things I want you to look at is you can see the gentleman in the front standing with the spear, and he's clearly defense mobilized and ready for fight. And we know that from his stance, okay? We can see that there's a woman, she's with a child in the back toward the cave, and she's looking like she's trying to shield that child, and she's also looking like she might grab that child and run towards safety. She's looking like she might flee. And the person that I most want you to notice in this illustration is the man that is crouched in the center with his arms wrapped around his knees, because his stance to me looks like freeze. Freeze is one of those things that is, according to Dr. Stephen Porges, is one of the most adaptive responses that we have in the face of lethal threat, perceived lethal threat. So hear this again. Freeze is one of the most adaptive responses or reactions to perceived lethal threat. So what does that look like in human behavior? That can look like somebody who's completely disassociated or checked out. They're numb, they're affectless, they're listless. Sometimes it can look like they're depressed. They don't seem to have a care in the world. They have very little energy. All right, disassociation can look like different things for different people, but it's basically when a person becomes disembodied from their experience as a form of surviving. Okay, and so they might even say, like, I don't feel anything. You ask them, how you doing in this pandemic? Oh, meh, like, fine, don't know. The reason that I bring all of these different forms of defense mobilization up is because Porges argues that these things are hardwired into our being and they are not consciously chosen. They're the things that we do when we feel threatened for our lives, okay? More importantly, if we have an experience that overwhelms our body, like a car accident or a form of violence that makes us feel like we might die, or, I mean, there's 1,000 things. If we can't feel that we can mobilize in that experience and we are frozen and we couldn't take action, if that energy for defense is not able to be discharged, that results in trauma. Okay. So I don't know how you guys are doing right now, because I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but just hang in there with me, and then I'm going to get a little bit of feedback from you. So bear with me a little longer. So I want you to take a look at this illustration of Dr. Porges's theory called the Polyvagal Theory. And this theory, honestly, is like, well, I think of Porges's work as like being the Darwin of our time. Because he is literally changing our understanding of human behavior with the argument that he makes. So one of the things that Porges says and argues is that we have 3 circuits in our body. Okay, we used to think we only had 2 circuits of our autonomic nervous system, but we actually have 3. So the autonomic nervous system is that thing I mentioned earlier that keeps the heart rate going and modulates or monitors your blood pressure and adjusts that as needed. And like I said, it's also the thing that's responsible for fight, flight, or freeze. Porges argues that our most newly evolved circuit is the realm of social engagement. Okay, and so you see that little man at the top, it says first response. This is really important to note because Porges says that being cooperative, being collaborative, being compassionate, being empathic, these are the most recently evolved capacities of the human species. And actually, we need far more cues of safety in order to be social instead of being defensive. So think about that for a moment. That argument really, in my opinion, pretty much challenges everything we think about human behavior. What do I mean by that? Like, what I mean is that I think we think that we're born generally people that are ready to take on the world and be pro-social and be empathic and to be successful. But Porges argues that we need certain kinds of experiences through life to develop those capacities. Otherwise, we will be far more defense mobilized and see the world through the lens of threat. So I'm going to share with you a tiny snippet of his theory. His theory is very in-depth, and it's very scientific in its nature. Siri hears me on my phone. But I'm going to share this little piece with you because I want to see if we can chat in some responses to this. I want to get you chewing on this concept for a few moments. The polyvagal theory provides the vehicle for explaining the importance of physiological state as an intervening variable influencing behavior and our ability to interact with others. The theory provides an understanding of how risk and threat shift physiological state. The theory explains how safety is not the removal of, I had that right. Shift physiological state to support defense. The theory explains how safety is not the removal of threat, and that feeling safe is dependent on unique cues in the environment and in our relationships that have an active inhibition on defense circuits and promote health and feelings of love and trust. So I screwed up the middle section. I just want to read that one more time because then I want to hear from all of you, what is Porges saying and how might it be different than our current understanding of human behavior? So I'm going to reiterate this one part. The theory provides an understanding of how risk and threat shift physiological state to support defense. The theory explains how safety is not the removal of threat, and that feeling safe is dependent on unique cues in the environment and in our relationships that have an active inhibition on defense circuits and promote health and feelings of love and trust. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. I want to see if I can pick up or see through the chat or through the Q&A. I don't know, is chat alive? I don't know if anybody can tell me that or not. Yes, chat's alive. Okay, so can folks just chat in for me? So far, kind of, what are you hearing? What am I describing? How is this challenging our understanding of human behavior? Because I'm going to get to that point of helping you understand how this is completely relevant right now. So I'm not sure if it's a perception. Makes sense so far. Good. How about others? Wow, you guys really are techies. Like understanding how to be resilient. Can you put that last slide back up? I can, but then I can't see the shared box. Okay, not learned behavior. That's actually the contrast of learned behavior. I mean, depends on what you mean by learned behavior. If you mean that up to this point, we have thought that all behavior is learned behavior, what this theory and this perspective, this trauma-informed perspective is helping us to understand is that actually the vast majority of bad behavior, lazy behavior, anxious behavior, withdrawal, and those things are actually stress reactions. They are not consciously determined. So that's how it's a little different than our understanding of shared or learned behavior. Excuse me. I just want to see if I can come back and look at this for a second. We think we are in control, but we're not. Well, we're going to talk about that because that's likely to really dysregulate a few folks. If we experience trauma in our youth, it'll affect how we react to threat as adults. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So the situation we are in and in our response to it may look incongruous to others who don't have our wiring. Who's the genius that said that, Tripp? You already been studying this stuff? We think we're in control, but we're not, and our experiences determine how we would behave and react. You guys are great. This is awesome. You're right on it. Circumstances that may have been threatening to us in the past can be triggered by even a hint of a similar situation today. Sense, behaviors, words. You guys are nailing this. I love this. This is so fun. We could do so much more polyvagal because you guys are right on it. Okay, the last one is really good by Thomas Grimes. Difference between dangerous threat and non-dangerous threat is dependent on where you are and who you are with and what you've experienced. 100%. we're not going to talk about it today, but, there's something known as the pair of ACEs, which is adverse community experiences. So if you've been a person that has been subject to oppression, marginalization, discrimination, you name it, that if that has been part of your lived experience, what you see as threatening is going to be vastly different than a person who hasn't had those experiences. And that does not mean that your experience is your experience is valid, because that's been your lived experience. So your perception of threat is valid. That's what I'm trying to say, because that's been part of your lived experience. Okay. So, we're going to dive deeper. This is so fun. You guys are awesome. You're really getting it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I wasn't sure because I haven't had any techies as my audience before. I generally tend to train educators. Dare I say you guys are getting it faster than them? So here's the paradigm that we currently are operating from most of the time when we think about human behavior. And this is very alive in our juvenile justice system, in our court systems, totally alive in our school systems. And so it's this paradigm of stimulus and response. So you may have heard about Skinner, or you remember, I don't know if you took that college course in human development and behavior, but this has been the prevailing paradigm of how we've understood human behavior, which is that there's something that happens before the behavior, there's a choice the individual makes, and then there's the response. And what Porges argues, this is why this man is so revolutionary, is that no. The intervening variable is not choice. It's only choice if we're experiencing a regulated state in our autonomic nervous system. A regulated state in our autonomic nervous system, or our physiological state. Okay. So I don't know if I did include this slide. Oh, goody. Just want to make sure I can make this very clear. So I want you to take notice for a moment, this squiggly line that you see in the middle. That little squiggly line is intended to represent a regulated physiological state. What do I mean by regulated? I mean that the body, the person, the individual is experiencing activation in their sympathetic charge and then activation in their parasympathetic charge. And so they're having nice oscillations between alerting and activating and then resting and calming down, alerting and activating and then resting and calming down. This is the key to resilience, the key. We have this misperception. It's a vast, pervasive misperception that resilience is about mindset. It's about pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. It's about sucking it up and moving through. No. Resilience is about your window of tolerance. It's about what is the extent of your capacity to remain regulated, physiologically speaking. Now, when I do these trainings normally and with school districts and stuff, I start to train teachers about, well, how do you know if you're regulated in your physiological state? The good news is that our body is telling us it all the time through the language of sensation, or through the experience of sensation in our bodies. So when we notice that clenching in our belly, or we notice that our heart is racing or our palms are sweating, those are indications that we're getting bumped outside our range of resilience, because our physiology is changing and it's supporting defense. So if you look at this line as it climbs, you see the climbing line, it looks like a bell curve in the middle. That line indicates the amount of arousal that is being experienced in physiological terms. So think about that. Think about like when you're arguing with a loved one, maybe a child or a spouse or a friend or whatnot. It's a pretty powerful, visceral experience. If you're not totally disassociated and numb and don't feel anything on the inside, which can happen, if you're alive to your experience, you notice that like your heart is beating out of your chest and you're like, you can see it in a person, you can feel it in your body. It's pretty intense. And what you need to recognize, shouldn't say it that way, not need to recognize, but one thing that's helpful to remember is that when that happens, we have very limited capacity to now reach our neocortex, because all this stuff in the lower parts and more primitive parts of our brain and bodies is all charged for defense. We're thinking we're going into survival mode, man. And people sometimes struggle with that because they're like, well, what are you surviving? It's not a conscious thing. When your body experiences novelty or newness, risk, danger, or threat, any of those conditions can signal to the body that it's needing to fight for survival, or it needs to flee for survival, or it needs to shut down for survival. And again, your response to a circumstance is going to be entirely dependent on your lived experiences. So let me give you an example, because we're going to start shifting into making this apply to the pandemic today. When the pandemic struck, I live in the state of New Hampshire. My husband and I found ourselves totally out of work in a matter of 2 days. I had up to that point a very successful consulting business where I did a lot of on-site training. I traveled all around the country in New Hampshire doing this kind of work and coaching and case consultation. All of it was suspended indefinitely. My husband is a school psychologist, and he is contracted. He works for therapy services, and so he's contracted for his district. So schools were closed, so his job was gone. And our children were home. And all of that change happening so suddenly transported me back to the day that I was 10 years old, and my dad walked out, and my life was totally shattered from that point forward, where there was a complete disruption in my assumptive world. That's one of the terms that is used to describe what we're experiencing right now, which is that collectively our assumptive world has been completely shattered. And how you're managing through that is entirely dependent upon two things. One, what your lived experience up to this point has been. And two, what's the social context that you're experiencing that's either buffering you against being traumatized by this and supporting you through it or not. Okay, so we still good on this? Are people feeling it? I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. I just want to say, seeing as people in front lines daily, we should be able to remain regulated more so than most. No,
Emily, the comments are all coming in. People are picking up on it.
Okay, great, awesome. Great. Thank you, Darren. You think I could keep going?
Absolutely.
They're with me? Okay, good. Okay, so one of the things, before we leave this slide, one of the things that I most want you to reflect on for a moment, though, this is really important. You see that green zone, that social engagement zone? That's what we're actually all driving for all the time. Because when we, as human beings, when we experience the realm of social engagement, we're the good people we want to be. And the people around us, whether that's colleagues or that's our family members or our neighbors or our friends, when they're experiencing the realm of social engagement, they too can be their best selves, okay? And the good news with this is there are specific things that we can be cultivating in our homes, in our workplaces, in our communities that will help to bring that more about right now. Because instead what's happening, and many of us see this, whether you see it on social media or you see it on the news or whatnot, we're defense mobilized as a country right now. Many, I mean, you just see it's like, it's like spears going across, people are, whether you're like, I can't believe you're not wearing a mask. I can't believe you're making me wear a mask. I can't believe you're doing it. I can't believe we're shutting this down. I can't believe we're not shutting this down. It's just, people are like really struggling to remain civilized. And it's not because they didn't learn what that meant. It's because we're experiencing too much collective threat. This pandemic, depending on who you are, is having a very potentially, you may be potentially experiencing it as a very high degree of lethal threat, especially if you're a person of color over the age of 60 with pre-existing conditions. And that needs to be honored because that is real. So I just bring that up so that you understand. I'm trying to help us to reinterpret some of the behaviors that we may be seeing in others or we may be experiencing ourselves. Trying to normalize it. It's a natural response to perceived lethal threat, okay? I just want to make a note of this too before we talk about sort of collective trauma and then conditions that can help all of us. So there's a lot of things that impact our physiological state. It's not all just cues in the environment or in our relationships. If we had time, I'd show you this hilarious video about being hangry, because I'm one of those people, and the name of the video is seven kinds of hangry. And when you have a chance, you want to giggle, it's worth watching. But, so our biological needs, like being exhausted. I haven't slept for 2 months. So my fuse at home is like this big with my family, because this pandemic has significantly disrupted my sleep. Why? Well, because sleep is modulated by your brainstem. And so when you're experiencing threat in any way, it's going to disrupt your homeostatic systems. And sleep is one of those things. So endocrine functioning. So, I'm also a 45-year-old woman, and I have a 15-year-old son. So there's some developmental stages happening there that there's some natural surges in hormones and shifts in hormones. And so that also can have a huge impact on our physiological state. Sensory needs, sensory stimuli, cues of threat and danger, and the state of those around you. This is so important. That last one in particular, this is what I really try to emphasize to my teachers that I work with, is that our states are contagious. We share our state with other people. So what I mean by that is, if I'm feeling anxious and you come to sit near me or stand near me, your body picks up on that like, bam. And then all of a sudden you're starting to be like, oh my God, I don't really feel very relaxed. I kind of feel like a little nervous, like this person. It's maybe why you want to avoid certain people, because they just kind of wreck you or make you feel. It's because we are a social creature. We have very highly evolved perceptive capacity for things that may indicate danger. And when a person is either agitated, irritated, anxious, all those things in our bodies can be perceived as threat. So it's why it can be very challenging to be around people who are defense mobilized right now. All the more challenging it is to be quarantined with them. So this is just a little reminder about what I'm saying. And part of the reason we understand all of this now is because we understand mirror neurons, and we don't need to go into the neuroscience of it. But this piece here is so critical, okay? When I talk about threat, the contrast to threat is safety. And we screw this up really bad in our culture. So what do I mean by that? Why do I say we screw that up? Because a lot of times what we do to bring about, to try to communicate more safety is actually about security and protection, and not about the unique cues of safety that we need in order to feel a felt sense of safety. So going back to physiological state, a felt sense of safety is when we are regulated in our bodies. It's when we're both alert and relaxed. That's the optimal state of regulation. That's the optimal physiological state for the body, for health and wellness. And it requires unique cues in our environment and in our relationships. And if you think right now about it, many of us are in work experiences or work environments, or even in community environments where people walking around wearing masks. So that reduces a lot of what is known as the realm of social engagement. When Porges talks about that, he's actually talking about the structures. Actually, it's more like this, from our eyes down to our mouth. We're actually covering most of that. So it's much harder to read people, because you can't see the 2/3 of their face. All you can see are their eyes. It also muffles our tone of voice and our volume and our rate of speech. And so all of these things may be being perceived in our bodies as threat, as opposed to cues of safety. Okay. A lot of what we're having to do to physically, we have to physically distance from one another, even in work or in our communities or in our homes. Those are actually the exact opposite cues from safety. So we use physical proximity normally to connote in touching, shaking hands, hugging, doing things like that, giving each other a kiss on the cheek or whatnot. Those have formerly been our ways of making others feel safe, making others feel welcome and feel at ease. I don't know if I'm going to go into this right now. I'd thrown this in here because I thought folks might be really getting on this trauma-informed nerd train with me and wanted to know that actually the SAMHSA, so SAMHSA stands for the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. It's the federal agency that is responsible for recommendations and programming, and actually mainly money, giving out money to the states for programs that support substance abuse and mental health. But they actually have a framework that they have developed called trauma-informed care. And very much what I am describing is, they're acknowledging all this body of research and science and saying, we need to take this and we need to apply it in all public service, because the way in which we're currently functioning is traumatizing people, re-traumatizing people, and not meeting their needs, because we have not understood this science before, or we didn't have enough compelling evidence before to influence our practice. And now we need to shift our practice to being far more focused on safety, trustworthiness, empowerment, collaboration, peer support, and recognizing. What happened here? Sharing is paused? Why is sharing paused? Okay.
We're still seeing your slide.
You are still seeing my slide?
The 6 principles?
Yeah. Okay, I just stopped sharing so I could share again. I think it just was like an update on the computer wanted to come through. Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
So, anyways, if you want to nerd out more about it, you can find more information on SAMHSA's website. Because like Darren mentioned in the beginning, I was trained as a school counselor. I worked as one for many, many years. I've always done youth work, and I was very passionate about systems change and trying to bring about change in the systems I worked, because I could see how much they re-traumatized kids. So I got my MBA in it was, sustainability, but essentially I was studying how do you go about systems change. And one of the things that I learned a lot about and became very interested in was this whole concept of employee engagement. And that what's really interesting is the principles that SAMHSA is using to try to influence public agencies and public services to shift their practice is very aligned with what we understand of the tenets of how to encourage high employee engagement. And safety is just, it's right there. Like, we'll talk about that more in a second. But, it's just nice to see that these things are starting to have an intersection to make them more compelling. So now we've talked a lot about individual trauma, how that affects us individually, how it calibrates our stress response systems, and what that might look like in our own experience and our own behavior. But I want to take it one step further, because what we're experiencing right now is a collective trauma. Well, it's actually more technically a collective stress that could become a collective trauma. So Dr. Saul, it was funny because when I wanted to sort of start talking about this, I can't believe how much fewer resources there are and how much littler understanding there is about this collective trauma and collective stress than individual stress and trauma. But this is what this gentleman had to say about it. Collective trauma refers to the impacts of adversity on relationships and families, communities, and societies at large. This includes natural and human-caused disasters, as well as the cumulative effects of poverty, oppression, illness, and displacement. But basically, he's talking about a stress that is ubiquitously experienced by a whole population of people. And I'm going to go to this slide first and then come back to that one, because there is so much about this particular experience that we're having that is truly novel, which makes its potential for threat much greater, or the perception of threat much greater. One thing that's really different about this pandemic than other kinds of collective traumas is that it is ongoing. So typically we have a natural disaster, and that, has a duration and it's over. But this, on a regular basis, we're getting wrecked regularly by, new information, changes happening. So it's the loss of predictability. It's just really unprecedented. Yes, 9/11 happened to this country, and yes, that was a collective trauma in many ways, but it also was finite. It was an experience that happened in a day. And then, and it disproportionately impacted communities that were closer to those sites than communities that weren't. This is different. This is everywhere, and this is global. So there's aspects of this that are really unique, which makes all the more case. This is the thing that I love. So I always don't understand. It's like, I think everybody could get on board with saying, yeah, no, this is not good. And this is likely to cause some major collective trauma. But let's just keep going the way we've been going. I mean, why change anything now? I mean, we want to just get back to the way things were. Well, the thing about this pandemic, the silver lining in it, is that it is really surfacing for us so many things that were already broken and needed attention and needed to be rebuilt and to be reimagined. And so one of them, I think, is that is what you're seeing on the right-hand side, that we need to be doing a much better job in our workplaces and in our communities and in our education systems and in our families to prioritize regulation, that physiological state of regulation, and relationships and a sense of community. And one of the things that Dr. Saul talks about is that if we're going to do this and do this well, so that we aren't all traumatized and our kids aren't all traumatized for generations to come, is that we need to honor the incredible amount of grief that we are experiencing as a result of a loss of control and a loss of predictability. And we need to hold space for that and let people speak to that together. He had done some research around what happened in New York City after 9/11 and how those communities were, how those communities sort of experienced resilience and were able to move on. And people were really creative in those communities. They took, they found really creative ways to express their experiences, whether that was through drama and theater or through song and music and dance, but they found ways to engage in experiences that were patterned, repetitive, and rhythmic. Those three qualities of an experience are what helps us to organize the somatosensory functioning of our brains. So just think about that for a moment. Patterned, repetitive, rhythmic, okay? We have evidence of that in our culture, but when you think about more indigenous people, many of them, part of what keeps them resilient and keeps them intact is their rituals, their ceremonies, their routines that have that embedded in the way that they experience things together. And we've lost a lot of that in this culture. I don't know that we ever even had it to begin with, because we're a melting pot of people, but we need to recognize the role of coming together in that way, and to be able to honor and collectively share our experiences. Because through that, it doesn't have to be just about the experience of the pandemic. It's what's the experience of the pandemic for you in your community, in your lived experience. And who's hearing that, and who's sharing that, and who's honoring that. And it might sound weird, like, why would we do this in places of employment, or why would we do this in, communities or whatnot? Because we're human beings. Because we can't deny our biology. Because to not do it means we set up, we just allow things to continue to be broken and potentially worsen. And we allow mental health and physical health and substance misuse to worsen. So to make these, artificial distinctions, like, oh, we're not going to do talking about how we're doing, and we're not going to check in with one another because that's not what you do at work. Well, you can certainly take that approach and that stance, but it's not going to be without consequence. We have to make room and make space, not to force anybody, but to make room and to make space and to hold space for the grief and the collective experience that we're having. So I'm going to go back to this for a moment. And one of the things that Saul says that I really like is that collective recovery at its essence is the phenomenon of witnessing. And when I think about witnessing, I think about when I witness someone else, I think about really seeing them, really hearing them, really embodying their experience in mine. Because to me, that is sort of first of all, it's the seat of authenticity and vulnerability, but it's also, when we do that, it's the most safety we can create together, is to really hear one another, validate one another, and come together to truly be creative about how to support each other. So what do I mean? What does this look like in the world of IT, or what you all do? Just trying to see, where am I at for time? I have no idea. Oh, 12:36. Okay. I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm so
You-
sorry.
You're doing great. You've got about 9 minutes until 12:45.
Okay,
I
great.
think everyone is really enjoying it.
Good, 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 good.
Keep
So I
on.
want you to think about some of these things, and I want you to think about, would there be creative ways in which to allow this to be embedded in the routines of your place of employment, whether this is collectively, individually, or at home in your own home. But we have to be, Porges talks about some of those unique cues that we provide one another in the realm of social engagement that keeps us feeling safe is our eye contact. It's our prosody of voice. Is what I mean by that. It's our rate of speech. It's our volume of speech. It's how we speak to one another. Um, Tone of voice is huge. It conveys the vast majority of the meaning of any message. And yet it's something that, when people talk to one another in a defense mobilized way, they'll often say, like, well, I didn't say anything. I mean, this is what I said. And like the words themselves, yeah, they don't sound terrible. It's the tone of voice, it's the prosody of the speech that connoted threat or danger of some way. And it's like, we're human. So like just own it. Like when we get activated and we are using a tone with one another or with a colleague or with a boss or whatever, it's, I was defense mobilized. I was activated by what you said. I was totally wrecked and dysregulated, and I'm sorry, and I got to fix that. And this is what was happening to me. This is what was happening in my experience. This is why I didn't feel safe. It's that kind of language and kind of acknowledgement that, as a trauma nerd, is really what I hope the future looks like, is that we can talk in those ways with one another, as opposed to in the judgmental ways that we currently do, like, hey, that guy's a jerk, or that person's an a-hole, or that woman has no manners, or the judgments that we make and the assumptions that we make about people, as opposed to really saying, you know what, something in that situation didn't feel safe for that person, because look at how they responded, look at how they reacted. Because for the vast majority of people, unless you're like Ted Bundy, for the vast majority of people, we have lost some conscious control of ourselves when we do and say things that are not good for the greater good, when they are not well articulated in, kind ways. What I'm trying to explain is that we get hijacked. We get hijacked by something in the experience that then can lend itself to acting in unprofessional ways. And so for those of us that maybe don't struggle that much with that, and you never really you never really have to, you never really lose your tongue at work or whatnot, it's understanding that, is there something that I can be doing in this experience to help this person feel safer? So here's some of the things, like exhaling slowly, moving in rhythmic, repetitive, organized ways, pushing up safely against something. That sounds kind of weird. That's a recommendation I make often in schools when talking about children, but we didn't get into it today, but sensory systems need certain kinds of inputs to get organized again. So that can look like, what I'm trying to speak to is integrating things like sensory tools in your work environment. So stress balls, those things that people use, fidgets, Mad Matter, which is a fabulous product that you can manipulate. But if you notice that you're the kind of person that likes that sort of thing, that's actually your body telling you that you use those manipulatives as a form of self-regulation. And that's awesome. And that should be encouraged in your workspace. Encouraging movement breaks, whether that's done collectively, where you all take a break and everybody does a little yoga, or maybe that's not safe and you want to have time to move, but moving is really important, and it's not happening enough in our workspaces. Appealing to the aesthetic, if you have the opportunity to get outside, to have a sensory garden in your workplace, or to have a place where there's a walking trail, those are all ways in which people can regain a sense of physiological state of being regulated. Ooh, the last two are really good. I'm going to recommend a company by the name of Capable. she sells the best products for weighted products. And I actually didn't bring one with me, but she sells wearable weighted products, which provide the body with enough input to actually stimulate the parasympathetic response. So that's that rest and digest response. So weighted modality and compression modalities, which kind of may sound strange to some of you, or like, I'm not a kid, why would I wear a weighted vest? Let me tell you, first of all, don't go judging that, because there's some fashionable ones, and they really, really help, and they really, really work to help us regulate our physiological state. So if you're interested in nerding out more, this is my website, Hear This Now. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Like I said, I predominantly provide consultation to school districts, but as you can see, I'm extremely passionate about this movement. I think it should be pervasive in any place that humans are, frankly, because this information is relevant to all human space. And I think that if we are willing to hear the science and to apply it, the world would be a very different place. So I'm going to stop share so I can go back for a moment and just see Rubik's Cubes. I love it. Did folks have any questions that they wanted to ask, or things? I do walking meditation, fantastic. But it's like, can you imagine taking some of those? And maybe some of you already have it in your workspace, but like, I worked as a counselor in a counseling department in a high school, and it was super hard even in that setting to get some of these more trauma-informed practices embedded into the way in which we worked.
Emily, some of the comments that were in earlier, Dan said that neurological studies show that our brain has made decisions before we are even aware of them.
Yeah, I love it, love it. You guys are on this. Like, I had no idea I was tapping, like, into a population of brain nerds. Like, I didn't know that people would be into this at all. I was thinking you guys are, I don't know, in the realm of tech, which I know nothing about.
Well, we're all in that tech world, but we're all, so we've got some pretty good managers in the group. One of our CIOs, Glenn, made a comment about, so if you can't remain regulated, you spiral into trauma. And so I think it speaks to how you from what I understand and what you're talking about, is you have to physically be regulated. You have to do things purposeful to make your body, all those things that you just said, otherwise spiral out of control.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's both, Darren. You're exactly right. So it's sort of being aware of our own states and what we may need to engage in order to get ourselves regulated. But it's also that the context in which we live is mindful and intentional about this understanding of human functioning and human behavior and human biology, because we just, it's really funny. Dr. Bruce Perry says, oh God, I wish I included the quote because I'm going to screw it up a little bit. But he basically says that, we have developed human experience in spite of human biology. So what he means by that is we have designed human experiences that neglects our biology. And it's just because and I think it's partly because for so long we have been subject to idioms and mantras like mind over matter, and this whole notion of being individualistic, and that if you really put your mind to something, then you can make it happen. And that's part of that's part of our early culture. And so I think that it's we haven't really been very respectful of what we need as human beings to, and the irony is that because we actually have really terrible outcomes for, really terrible health. I mean, in terms of, other countries live differently and get more of this stuff, and they have better outcomes than we do, health-wise and mental illness-wise, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a big price we pay for not respecting and honoring our biology. Willie Johnson had his hand up. Can you give him a chance to talk?
We can. So it is 12:45.
Oh, okay.
Emily, based on the messages coming in on the chat and based on all the offline conversations I've been having on my cell phone, I think everybody was extremely impressed and really enjoyed it.
Great.
The most common response and message I'm seeing is about how they want more of this. They want to show this to other people. They want to replay it for this. They want to go back and do stuff. And so it's great.
Awesome. Well, I would love to chat more about it because there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more there's a lot more in terms of the science, but also in terms of the application of this. And sometimes people want to skip right over the science, but if you don't really get it, it's really hard to keep it in the forefront of your mind, because it does require that people talk about it as a paradigm shift. It's kind of like there was a major paradigm shift that happened when we realized that the world wasn't flat. And I think this is a very similar shift in realizing that human behavior is much more of a reflection of our mammalian selves than we've wanted to acknowledge before.
It's obvious you touched the tip of a very large iceberg.
Yeah.
And with us doing this conference virtually and us doing a lot of stuff virtually over the next year or so, we may have some more opportunities for you to come back and share, maybe go into more depth about certain pieces of that. And so that might be something we'll have to do in the future that'll help a lot of our members out.
Yep.
I am going to cut this off because the very last thing that we're going on to now is the door prizes.
Okay, great.
We've got a few of those to give away. So you're going to see this number that was well over 200. It's going to drop all the way down pretty quick.
Okay.
So everyone, we're going to leave this Zoom room. Actually, we're not going to leave the Zoom room, are we? We're going to stay in the Zoom room. And it's going to transition.
I'm going to leave.
We'll have well, you can leave, you can stay. A few more people will probably talk about you if you want to stay and listen. And then we're going to give away a bunch of door prizes. So Emily,
that was great.
Thank you very
so
much.
much for having me. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay regulated, or work on regulating yourself.
And then Felina, you and Amy and Mike, or is it Meek? I'm not sure. I got to look that one up. Meek Taylor, yeah. Can take over and we can do door prizes. I guess, do we need, there we go. Hi, Meek.
Hello?
Oh, I hear you. We just need Felina to share her screen and Amy and Hardik to write some stuff down, and we can start doing some prizes.
All right, he was in the process of promoting us. Hi, everybody.
That's an oxymoron, Darren promoting us. Yeah.
You just wait, Mike. You just wait, Mr. Taylor. Just wait. We saw about a 50-person bump in the last few minutes of that last session, so I guess those are the people that are waiting for the prizes.
They'll need to answer a few questions about the presentation first. They didn't know that. Just kidding.
Right. All right. So
Randy's campaigning for Mr. Popularity, if you didn't know.
Do we have everybody here? Melissa, Amy, Hardik?
Yep. I don't see Melissa.
Well, if we could just get somebody to watch the chat. And I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, we've got enough to get going.
All righty. So welcome everybody to the prize section. We are up to 414 people. We'll do the random prize generator. If you're here, please say here in the chat. And Mike will do his best to pronounce your names. I do want to say Davenport is Paul here? Paul should be promoted.
He is.
Paul is here, Paul from Davenport?
Yeah, he's here. I saw him in the chat, or at least in the chat, he said he's here.
Okay, great. So after we finish our prizes, after Amy calls out the last prize, Paul from Davenport will do his presentation of the TV. Everybody is eligible for the TV, no matter if you've won the entire week. Please note that. Last thing I wanted to say is after Davenport, after he finishes, please stay tuned. We have one more thing for you. So please don't leave us. All right, can y'all see my screen?
I can, and you started with the most complex name, I think, on the list. So thank you for that. and
You're
not
welcome.
knowing the nationality, know I'm going to get it wrong. But it's Jad Albaly, Albjaly. First name Jad, Jad.
No response yet.
Hey, Melissa.
They had to promote me.
I got you.
Melissa, you're going to have to work on that tone. No response.
No, okay. I'll be more enthusiastic, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. Next.
314. You have to help regulate us, Melissa, with your tone.
I'm gonna be the cheerleader. I'm going back
Okay.
to what I know.
All righty. 314 is Froy Romero. Froy Romero.
Not here.
No, Froy. That was better, Melissa. There we go. Next number.
152.
Ellen Grunwald.
Oh, there's Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
A couple of opportunities to win.
Ellen.
Ellen
Grunwald.
has not responded.
Okay, next.
39.
She's one. That's Camille Bosworth. She's
Oh,
one.
Camille.
The TV, Camille. The TV.
Yeah, you still in for the TV.
Okay, this is Keith Chanupa.
Danupa. Francis, the prize is a Best Buy gift card, and it's
Keith is here.
All right, bye-bye, Keith.
Keith is here.
Keith. Okay, great, Keith. You want a Best Buy gift card. Hardick will be getting that card to you in your email. Congratulations.
Minus shipping and handling.
Money.
I see
All
you're
right.
competing against Randy for Mr. Popular.
Next.
Next, we have a $75 Amazon card, and that's
All right. Celeste Owens Fuller.
Here.
awesome. All right, Celeste, we'll get that gift card to you. Another $75 Amazon card for
Richard Ringland. Richard Ringland.
No, Richard.
No, Richard.
Thank you for that professional development tip, Glenn.
All right, so let's try again. 119.
Natasha Ellis Smith.
No, Natasha.
No, Natasha.
All right. Next number.
394.
High number.
High number.
That is Joe Wilkson. He's won.
Okay. Oh, he did win?
He's
He
marked off
wasn't-
on my list.
Because he wasn't here when he won. Did he win another one?
I wasn't here. Okay. That's what Joe says in the.
Yeah, he wasn't, because I remember his name being called and he didn't respond to it.
Okay.
I don't know why I got it marked off. Maybe because I remember his name
Congratulations,
being called.
Joe.
Good
You
job.
have won a $75 Amazon gift card.
All right. Well, the mark is valid now.
All right, guys.
For understanding, Joe. All right, 29. Michael Berner,
Michael, you've won a $100 Best Buy gift card.
if he's here.
Michael's not here.
No, Michael.
Nope.
Come on, Michael.
3, 2, 1.
Nope.
That would be John Gallimore. John Gallimore.
$100 Best Buy gift card.
Ooh, John. John.
John is missing out.
No, John.
No, John.
I need some high
Davie
numbers.
County in the house.
Number 50.
Kyle Broom. Kyle Broom.
No, Kyle.
Goodness, everybody's gone to lunch.
Oh, well. All right. Next number.
216.
Winston Lee. Winston Lee.
Winston, $100 waiting on you.
Come on, Winston. Nope.
All right. I need some high numbers.
134.
Kelly Fuqua. Kelly Fuqua.
Oh, that name was called before. Was she not here yesterday?
Well, but she hasn't.
She hasn't
But I
won.
don't have her marked off as having
Okay.
won though. So
Okay.
you could be correct, and I could be correct too. And see how I use that and?
And yes, and. All right,
But-
next number.
I won't use the but.
No, Kelly? Okay.
No.
Goodness. 177.
Ben Hughes. Ben Hughes.
Oh, Ben either?
Nope.
Where are you all? All
We
right.
know where they're not.
All right, next 174.
Spencer Hodges. Come on, Spencer. Oh, yeah. Thank
Spencer's
you.
Spencer's
here.
here.
Awesome. Spencer, you just got a $100 Best Buy gift card. We'll get that to you.
Woo.
All right,
All right. Let's
next number.
down, and now I have a $100 Amazon card going to number 238. Chris McDaniel.
Yes, Chris
Here.
McDaniel.
Awesome. Chris,
Yep,
congratulations.
Congratulations, Chris.
All right. Another $100 Amazon gift card for number 208.
Keith.
Keith is here.
Oh,
Keith.
that's one of my K-12 guys. Yay.
Keith.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome, Keith.
However your last name's pronounced,
It's-
congratulations.
Toots.
Koontz.
Kuntz.
Toots. And Keith, you won a $100 Amazon gift card.
He's
Yay.
Kuntz with an S, not a Z.
Right.
Gotcha. All right, next number.
All right. $100 Best Buy gift card for 146.
Jake Gore. Jake Gore.
Jake.
Also known as Jake from State Farm.
Jake is not here.
It's been a
He's
long
still
3
at State
days.
Farm.
Khakis.
I love it, khakis.
All right,
386.
getting high.
Taquin Washington. Taquin Washington.
No Taquin?
I hope. Taquin.
Nope. Next, please let it be a 4. We need a 4. We need some 400s.
Yeah, there's no 400s come up, Felina.
I can't make it.
Okay, this is Joseph Sloop. Joseph Sloop,
Ooh,
GIS
Joseph called him yesterday.
guru.
Okay.
The man, the GIS man.
That's good.
No,
All right.
Joseph?
He
Nope.
must be mapping
Then
something.
Then again.
No, Joseph?
No, we
No.
heard spin again.
All right.
144.
David Goldston. David Goldston.
Come on, David. $100 waiting on you. He's not here. Okay.
All right. We'll run it again.
62.
Felicia Cameron.
Alicia. Alicia. Not here.
Okay.
All right, next.
325.
Carol Salmons. Carol Salmons.
Nope.
No Carol?
Spin again.
84.
Pete Colonna.
Pete's here. Yay.
All right.
Pete.
Thank you,
Yay.
Pete.
Yay. We have a $100 Best Buy gift card. Hardick will be sending that to you. All right. I have a $100 Amazon card.
Who's going to get it?
Number 100.
Warren Curry.
Oh, we called him yesterday. He wasn't here yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think he's here today either.
All right. All right, generate again.
108.
Wow.
That one's not marked out as not attending.
Oh, okay, all right. And we'll go to
265, is that what you?
Mm-hmm.
Helen Nelson. I know she's been on here.
Woohoo, Helen.
Here.
All right, there you go,
Helen's
Helen.
here.
Hey, Helen.
Oh, awesome, Helen. We got a $100 Amazon gift card for you. All right, I'm going to drop down here. I've got a $100 Lowe's card going to number 353.
He won Wednesday. That's Chris Staten. He won Wednesday.
Okay.
Number? Oh, I was looking for a high number.
37.
Donald Bogomil.
What?
Donald Bogomil.
Bogomil. Okay.
Not like the boogeyman, but the Bogomil. Donald Bogomil.
He's not here. Okay. Spin again.
No.
131.
Patrick France. Patrick.
No answer.
France.
No
Spin
answer?
again. Spin.
That is Sonia Ensenat. Sonia Ensenat.
Oh, we said that name yesterday too.
It wasn't Sonia, it was a different incident, I thought.
I remember that last name that Mike is trying to pronounce.
No
That could
Sonia?
have been a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's
Well,
more
her
than
name's been
one.
called all 3 days.
Yeah, all right.
Yep,
Next.
spin again.
112. Okay, so 112 is Richard Dodd. 63. Sorry. Is it 63? Is that the number?
Yes.
63.
All right, 63 is Darren Cardwell.
You talking to me, Mike?
Darren
Yes.
Cardwell.
Yeah,
You've
yes,
already
Mike.
won, so it's really a moot point for you.
Darren's not here.
I'm here.
Not you.
Oh,
Cardwell. Next number.
303.
Richard has already won. That was Richard Ringlet. He won
Oh,
Number
low
8.
number.
8. That's he's won. That's Timothy Anders. He's won.
Okay. Number 65.
Jonathan Carrick.
Jonathan. Awesome,
He's
Jonathan.
Here.
I have a $100 Lowe's gift card coming your way. Congratulations. All right, next I have a set of JBL Tune 120 TWS for number 204.
Okay, that is going to be Christopher King. Christopher King.
No, Chris.
Nope. Spin again.
All right, next number.
152.
That we've already called that.
323.
Erica Sacco. Erica Sacco.
Wasn't here yesterday either. All right.
No response.
Okay. 242.
Janice McKinney. Janice McKinney.
Here.
Here, all right.
All right, Janice, you want a set of JBL Tune 120 TWSs. Hardick will get those to you. Congratulations. All right, we're back to a $100 gift card from Best Buy. 280.
That's me.
Hardik Patel.
Yay, Hardick. $100 Best Buy gift card. You won't have to email that one too far.
Just remember, shipping's not included.
Hardik, you can go get those earpods now.
No.
Put some more money to it, though.
All right. We need 400s. Everybody just put your hand towards it.
$100 Amazon gift card.
233.
233.
That's Paul from Virginia. Paul Malabad. He's the one.
Paul's already won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul.
Next number is 224.
John Love.
He's with us anyway. Isn't that awesome?
John Love.
No John Love.
Nope.
No, John.
$100 Amazon gift card. 207.
Tim Knowles.
Tim
Tim
Knowles.
Knowles.
Spin again. Oh,
Tim,
what?
he's
Here,
here.
Tim.
He's
Tim is
here.
here. Tim is here.
Oh,
Okay.
Tim's here.
Tim is here. Congratulations, Tim. We'll get that to you. Hardick will get it emailed to you. Congratulations. All right.
okay, back to the chat. Oh, yes, that's his name. Thank you, because I would not be even begin to try to pronounce that. Yes,
Doc,
yeah.
Okay.
Dennis De La
De
Santos.
Los Santos. I'll try that one.
Yep.
That's
you,
him.
You
That's
just
him.
won a Best Buy gift card, $100.
He's here.
He is
Yes,
here.
Yes.
Yep.
awesome.
He saved you, Mike, didn't he?
I know. Thank you.
I have another Best Buy $100
$400.
gift card.
Okay.
Francis Davis. Go,
Oh,
Francis.
Lonely Francis.
Yay, Francis.
Congratulations, Francis.
And it wasn't a
Hardick will get
cornhole
that
game.
to you.
It wasn't cornhole.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I have just a few more gift cards, and we're moving down into some bigger prices.
Okay.
I have a $100 Amazon gift card for 182.
No.
82.
Victor Coleman.
Victor, are you on?
I'll give it a few seconds. No,
Oh, because their last name's Coleman. Is that why you're going to give them more time?
absolutely not.
Next number.
Get it.
227.
Melody Lyerly. Melody Lyerly.
Melody, are you with us?
No Melody. That number's been done, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pete has already won. Spin
Okay.
again.
282.
Rachel Patterson.
Rachel, have a $100 Amazon gift card.
No Rachel. Nope, here.
Yep,
He's
she's there.
He's
Good,
here.
great.
Oh, Rachel, you almost missed it, huh?
Awesome, Rachel. Okay, guys. Now I have a $150 Best Buy card.
Ooh, who's gonna be the first?
For number 291.
Daniel Prisbel from
Where'd you get to?
Orange County Water.
Sorry, Felina.
Good
it
thing
popped up.
skip, Lena. It did have 291 up there.
Well, we'll go ahead and give it to him. Go ahead and give it to him.
Okay.
291.
Dan? Has
Is it Dan?
won?
He said he's here. It says
He's
here.
here. He's here.
Okay.
291.
All right, hold on. Okay, 388.
Yep. 388 is going to get a $100 Lowe's card.
Aaron Webb. Aaron Webb. Hey, just to be fair, can I make a suggestion? We also had 381 up there before. Since 388, Aaron's not here, can we read 381?
Yes.
Because it was displayed. I just want to be as transparent as possible.
Right. Yes.
Okay,
So, Chris Wallace is 381.
Yay, Chris.
Chris Wallace.
381.
Chris, here.
Oh,
Here.
who's re-
Reconnecting, it said. So-
Okay.
Here.
Chris, we have a $100 Lowe's card for you, and Hardick will get that to you. Congratulations. Okay. Give me the number.
Y'all let me know if it skips because I can't tell that it's skipping. It's doing
Okay,
fine on my end.
we will try to, Felina, just wait. I called that too soon. We'll try to wait on it to settle before we call it out.
Mike's excited right now.
So we did 388, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
281.
Landon Patterson.
Landon, are you with us? I have a great prize for you.
Landon's not here.
No, Landon?
170.
William Helms.
I am excited, Corey. I like this. I like giving away stuff.
No.
No William Helms.
No
Okay.
William.
234.
Studi Mananandar.
Mm.
We're sorry, Stu. We're sorry.
I'm not even going to attempt to recall it.
Is that the, say the name again, Mike?
Study, Stuti, study, Mananandar, Manandhar. Manandar,
We're gonna save
I don't
you.
believe they're
They
here.
didn't
We're
respond.
sorry.
We're gonna save you.
okay.
Next.
60.
Andrew Bryan.
Andrew, we have a great prize for you.
Andrew's
Here,
here.
all right.
Here.
Hey,
Okay, Andy, you won a pair of Bose headphones.
nice.
Very nice. Hardick will be shipping those to you.
Don't let Steve take them from you now.
Okay, so I don't know of this bunch. You know, we usually gain weight when we go to Nickel Jesus, so we didn't do that this time, but we have a Fitbit charge, so that's going to go to number 340. Oh, yay, Bobby.
Bobby
good.
Shook. Bobby Shook.
Here.
Awesome. All right, Bobby, congratulations. Hardick will get that to you.
No 400s at all.
Good.
Belina.
Okay, another big gift.
You have to shake your computer.
We have a set of AirPods from Apple going to 281.
Okay, that would be Landon. We've called that out already. That's Landon
Yeah.
Patterson, and he didn't
Okay.
respond earlier.
How about 87?
87 is Tim Conley.
Tim, are you with us?
Tristan.
Oh, Tim.
No.
No, Tim?
No, Tim. It's 356, Mike.
Oh, 356. Okay. That is Brian Stevens.
Brian, got a great gift. Set of Apple AirPods.
Nope. Spin again.
228.
Peggy Lyons.
Peggy.
Here.
Here.
Awesome,
Great.
Peggy. You're going to love those Apple AirPods. Hardick will be getting those to you. Congratulations. Now I have another big one. I have an Apple Watch.
Oh, I want it.
Yes, awesome gift.
I think we did that number. already.
We've called this person Donald Bugamill. So we've already called that person today.
Should we restart the generator? Because it seems like it's going back to the same numbers.
Don't know, but we can't control it at this point. It's
I
as
can't
random as we
control
can
it.
get.
Yeah, I
So
can't
thank you for
control
that
it.
observation.
Number 270.
Gilbert Nutzel.
Melissa,
Here.
270. Yay. All right.
Gilbert.
You just won that Apple Watch. Congratulations, Gilbert.
So he was here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now I have just a couple of vendor prizes, and gosh, I don't know how we all show appreciation to all of our vendors for all they've done. They allowed this conference to happen. They supported us financially, and not only that, but they just supported us all the way around. So I want to give a shout out to Cloudwise. They provided a prize for today, a $100 gift card and some swag. This is the first time Cloudwise has ever been with us as a vendor, and we really appreciate them jumping in. And they're out of Wilmington. So they're giving away a $100 gift card and some swag. And that
Okay.
is,
This one's been called today.
okay.
Next number.
289.
Kim Price.
Kim, are you with us?
Kim's not here.
Okay. Number 4.
I've already tried this name before. I'm having some of that trauma. I can't say it. I'm fleeing.
Number 27.
Vance Bell.
Vance.
And
$100
again,
gift card from Cloudwise.
$230.
Tulsi Mahdi.
Oh,
Here.
All right.
All right. So
Okay.
you won that Cloudwise gift card. I'll see if you'll send your information to me, and I'll put it in the chat window in a few minutes. My email address. I will get that information to Cloudwise, and they will get that card and that swag to you. All right. Another vendor that offered another prize is a $100 gift card from Rubric. Another great one, a vendor of ours. We appreciate them. They've given a prize for every giveaway, and we really appreciate that. So Rubric, a $100 gift card to 198.
Donald Joyner.
Donald,
No Donald.
No Donald.
337.
Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer.
No Alan.
192.
Justina Jones.
No.
Nope.
Justin.
224.
No, this one's been called.
290.
Maurice Price.
Maurice, are you with us?
No Maurice.
Nope.
215.
Corey Lee.
Corey.
Here.
Here.
All right, Corey. So I have a $100 Amazon card coming to you from Rubric. If you will send me your email address, I'll make sure that I get that to them and we get that to you. Congratulations. Okay, my last, we still have 2 vendors, but the last one I'm going to give away is from Tentry, and it is a set of AirPods.
All right.
Number 215. No, I'm sorry. Number 328.
Here. Tony.
All right, awesome, Tony. You just won that set of AirPods. Send me an email, and I'll get your information to Tentry. And thank you again to our vendors for those prizes. All right, we're about
Hey,
to.
just for the record, I can pronounce this one, Tony Scarlett.
He beat you to the punch, Mike.
I
We
know.
didn't give you the easy ones, did we? Okay, so I've got just a few more prizes before we're going to do the TV. I have a Fitbit charge given by Nickel Giza, and that's going to number 271.
Heather's already won.
Okay. 149.
Charisse Green.
Charisse, are you here?
I hope so.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, okay,
Awesome.
great.
All
Great.
right, congratulations. Hardick will get that to you.
Hey, Sharice.
Okay, here it is. The last one before the TV, and I'll need to confirm that with Hardick that he has the same thing.
This one's been called.
Okay.
281 has been called.
Yes.
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
404.
Thank
It's
goodness.
a 404.
Anita Woods.
It's an
Anita
error.
Woods, you've got to be here.
Not found.
Anita's
Got to
here.
be
She's
here.
waiting for 3 days. For
All right. Anita,
You
just
have to be
won-
here.
You just won a Fire TV Cube. Congratulations.
Oh,
Okay, Felina, we're
whoa,
ready.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, from Anita Woods. Thank you. See it right there?
Yes.
Yeah, Anita's here.
Yeah, she's here.
Thank
So
goodness.
we gave her the Fire TV Cube, and we are ready to turn it over to Paul for the TV.
Well, thank you. Thank you. This is always fun, but it's Nickel Giza. Of course it's fun. It's also an incredible opportunity. And first off, to all of you at Nickel Giza that have put this thing on, I commend you. This is in the midst of the virus and what we've all had to deal with, for you guys to be able to make this happen and to make it as professional and as painless as it has been. Absolutely, I can't commend you enough. It's been a great experience for all of us, and I'm just very happy to be able to be a part of this in just a very, very small way. We've been fortunate enough over the last decade plus to be able to give this TV out and to support Nickel Giza and all of the incredible work that everybody's doing. And of course, in these incredibly trying times for all of us. And I just want to say that I had this interesting phone call earlier this week with somebody who was asking me about how our business is going to change as a result of what's gone on with this virus. And I said, well, what Davenport Group does is we support IT, and IT supports business and government, and then government and business supports society, and society is what's going through the changes. So all of this ripple effect across all of us is going to be, well, we're all changing every day in how we're dealing with everything that's going on. And Nickel Giza, seeing how quickly you've adapted to be able to make this an effective conference is another exciting example about why Nickel Giza is important to the state of North Carolina as it is. So as always, we are very happy to be here. And I'd love to go on for the next 45 minutes with a PowerPoint about my thoughts about how society will evolve. And I've got the deck right here, but somehow I think that you all want to get onto a 3-day weekend. So I'll save that for the fall, and hopefully we'll all be together again. And actually, I was going to try to make the background the battleship in Wilmington, but my technical capabilities failed me. I wasn't able to get that one done. So anyway, I guess it's time. You've heard enough from me. But again, to all of you, thank you for taking the time to support and be part of Nickel Giza and to make this thing as good as it always has been. So I'll turn it back over to who's ever punching the number on the generator, and I'm really happy to see that the 400s finally got into the mix. So
Yeah.
let's see who's going to get this thing.
All right, and before I hit the number, I just wanted to remind everybody, please stay on after we find out who's winning the TV, because we have one more short thing to share with you. Here we go.
Here we go.
125.
Mike Taylor. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Timothy Faulkner.
Tim's
He's
here.
Hey, Tim.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tim.
Damn, great.
Tim, if you will send me your information, I'll get it to Paul so that Paul can get your TV to you. This is
We'll
Felina.
get it off to you, Tim. Congratulations. And really, to the board at Nickel Giza, fantastic job to all of you.
Thank you, Paul. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support all through these years. And we kind of deleted your slide deck by accident, so sorry about that.
Yeah, well, it was only 45 slides. I'd have gotten through it really quickly.
All right, thank you, Paul. All right, everybody, we have one more thing for you here, and if you'll just watch this, and we'll let you get on your way.
Hitman, what are you doing here?
My senses detected feelings of despair.
Yes, our spring conference was canceled this year. And then I'm worried now about a fall conference in October in Nashville.
Never fear, IT Man is here. For the spring, I brought you a virtual conference. If duty calls, I will return and rescue you once more.
Hitman, you're my hero.
Wait.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know we are meeting for the next 5 hours, so.
The numbers are dropping precipitously. I don't know why. 95, 91, 88.
Read them off, Mike. Keep reading.
80, 78.
Yep, keep going.
Oh, Steve said he can't speak. Steve, are you on mute?
See, blessings in disguise. 69, 66.
John said the drive home is shorter than Wilmington. Oh, Steve said he wasn't promoted.
Oh, Darren, did you do that?
He was
No,
late on
I'm
his
not in charge of
payment.
this one.
He's late in his payment. 58.
He's late with his payment.
No, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything but chat.
Oh,
I just saw it, so sorry.
No, I'm glad because I wouldn't want to pronounce any names either.
Me neither.
all right. Well, I'm checking off. I've got a meeting to get to. So
I'll see how you guys at 4 o'clock.
We'll see y'all 4.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
sounds
try
great.
to get on at 4.
Good job, everybody.
is that Eastern Standard Time?
Good job, Jamar.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
nice.
Jamar.
Thank you.
Jamar,
Yes.
you
Pacific
did a
time,
great
Mike.
job, Jamar.
You made us look good. You made us look good.
Yeah, you and your team did great.
Jamar,
Nobody can make Mike look good.
Tomorrow, I want to know how I can do my avatar like that.
It's a secret.
Oh,
I know the secret. I know the secret.
you know the secret? Can I be elevated to have an avatar?
Melissa, I couldn't even do it if I tried anyway.
I'm sure glad we pulled a 400 out the hat.
Can you promote Glenn real quick? Glenn wants, he's asking for promotion. Not that we get ready to talk for 4 hours, but we get ready to leave. But
I love that avatar.
You said Glenn?
yeah, Glenn has to.
Yeah, I am so glad the 400 came out. There at the
Yes, finally, at the end, the last one.
end.
I don't know what was going on with that. Like, no 400s were getting selected at all. So
I don't think Glenn.
I'm so glad a 400 finally got in there. I was getting really worried.
yeah, Glenn might have left already, Jamar.
I was concerned.
Me too, Melissa. And
Like,
what now?
why is no 400s coming in there?
Right. If it wouldn't have been one at all, I'd have been concerned. But I'm glad at least one.
Yeah,
got
at least one guy. And the person was here.
it. Yes. Look, we were gonna mail that 400 because look, we've been trying to work for that.
Oh, Jamar, are you gonna be breathing easier now?
Yeah, I'm take it easy for the rest of the day.
We appreciate all that y'all have done, man.
No problem. So people have been adding their videos as they come in to the link that I sent about 30 minutes ago. So as soon as we end this last recording, we'll make it into that folder, and then you guys can cut them up and edit however you wish. So that
Okay.
you site.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So I'll just wait and get that. But you said should file share, so I can get to it anytime.
Yeah,
Amy,
so you already have the link. So there's just one more file that has to be added to it.
okay. Okay. Amy, it looks like somebody's behind you or beside you.
No, she looked like she disappeared in the wall.
But watch when she goes back, it's somebody sitting over there.
Do I have a visitor?
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
It looks very ghostly.
Yes, it did.
Somebody said the other day, it looks like I part the curtain and come through when I come in. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start holding my hands out. Open.
All right, y'all. Jamar, thank you. Oh my gosh, we cannot thank you all enough. You all have been awesome.
I've enjoyed it, guys. It's been a lot of work, but I sure have enjoyed it.
Yes, me too.
Well,
all right.
All of you did a great job. I mean,
Bye, everybody.
Business
Bye.
partner side, Amy, great job.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you. It went
All right,
well.
Y'all did such a great job. You should take Monday off.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a promotion.
Right, exactly. Bye.
All right, bye, y'all.
Yeah.
See y'all at 4.